soul destroying, I tell you, because the last time I ran a Hangout on Air, anything that you can imagine could go wrong did go wrong. So I'm back in the game, hopefully today. Hopefully no problems with the internet, no problems with the audio or anything like that. So I am just going to talk about what we're doing today. And we are doing something called Mohinga. This is basically what most people would consider Burma's national dish. And I came across Mohinga actually a couple of years ago at this Burmese restaurant in Sydney that has actually since closed down, which is quite unfortunate. They've probably moved on to greener pastures elsewhere. And essentially, some people describe it as kind of like a Burmese laksa. It's got a lot of herbs and spices, but the base is actually made from fish. Now, if anyone has ever heard me carry on about Malaysian laksa, pretty much every state in Malaysia has its own version of laksa, which is quite intriguing. And this is quite similar to some versions of laksa you may find in Malaysia, which probably makes sense because Burma is part of Southeast Asia. It's north of Thailand, which is north of Malaysia. So there are some crossovers in our cuisine. Now, the other thing that kind of made me decide to do this particular dish was because I came across a Google Plus post by a young gentleman by the name of Soe, and his website is called limeandcilantro.com. You have to check it out because he basically posted a recipe on his blog on that website that he shared on Google Plus. And I had a look at his profile. So is a Burmese student doing medical studies in the USA, and he's based in California. And he has a really unique style about his writing, which intrigued me. And basically the selling point to me was the fact that he, like me, as someone who was transplanted from our home countries in a Western environment, had to struggle to kind of like adapt his recipes, to accommodate the kind of ingredients he can find in the USA. And that's pretty much the kind of stuff that I've had to encounter. But because most of my audience, admittedly, are actually based in North America, so would probably be in a better position to advise in terms of what ingredients, what Western ingredients would be good substitutes for what we use in a lot of our Asian dishes, because I'm in Australia, Sydney, Australia, and a lot of my ingredients are actually still quite Asian because I do have access to a number of Asian ingredients. But before I carry on any further, I'm just going to play a slide share. Hopefully this will work. Just give me 2 seconds. And like I said, this is can be quite challenging technically. It's not, overwhelmingly difficult to set up, but I just need to find out how I can do a screen share over here with you. Just let me see if I can pull up the options for screen sharing. Why is that not coming up? Okay, here we go. And of course, me being me, I don't just kind of like try to do just let me cancel out of this. I usually try and make 20 different changes to the way I do things at any one time instead of trying out one, seeing if it works, and trying out another. I'm just struggling a little bit with my connectivity here. So I hope you can still hear me and see me okay. Just bear with me, guys. I just want to show you the recipe that Soe sent through to me earlier. And I've created basically a slide deck for it, just so you can follow through, because the camera angles aren't the best in a Google Hangout environment. And I'm just going to hop over to my screen just quickly. Okay, I'm back and it's still not happening. Just let me try it over here. I don't know if it'll work from this, because I'm actually logged in from 2 different computers. And I want to see if this would help pull it up. I'm going to hang out. Okay. And internal display share. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Okay, I'm going to share that slide share in the edited version of this video, so hopefully we can pull it up. But in the meantime, ingredients. Okay, now if you are following me from Google Plus, you will see the recipe, you will see a link even to that slide share. But in terms of ingredients with Burmese cooking, because I'm very, very new to this, this is my first time ever attempting a Burmese dish. And there are some crossovers, like I mentioned, but ingredients in terms of Burmese cooking, I've read up a little bit about it, and it's not too dissimilar. Basically, you've got a base of garlic. I've got some minced garlic over here, okay, and onion. Okay, this is some onion that I've just put in the food processor for about a minute or so and just crushed it essentially. And I also have some more onions that are thickly sliced. Okay, I've made some adjustments to Soe's recipe only because of my personal preferences and ingredient availability. Now, one thing I read about Burmese cooking is that you use a lot of turmeric in Burmese cooking, but usually you use the powdered form. Now, interestingly enough, I actually usually use powdered turmeric in my cooking as well, but what happens is that my kitchen is actually based somewhere else, not here. But incidentally, a few months ago, the Malaysian consulate, the Malaysian agricultural department based in the Malaysian consulate in Sydney, gave me a whole bunch of really nice purees in jars. Okay, and I'm going to show that to you in the pictures I'm going to share after this event. But I managed to basically, some of the jars of purees are pureed ginger, pureed onion, pureed chili, and pureed turmeric, and among other things. Okay, so I've actually got pureed turmeric here. This is fresh turmeric that's pureed. Okay, and I've got some ginger, and I've even got some pureed lemongrass. Okay, I know Soe mentioned in his recipe fresh lemongrass. But I'm going to use a bit of both pureed out of the jar lemongrass and also a fresh lemongrass that I've got cooking in the back here. Okay. Now, the other thing that Soe mentioned is to use tilapia, and I know in the US tilapia is actually quite common. Not necessarily so in Australia, but I know from having read up on Mohinga, or Soe actually spells it Mohinga. I spell it because of basically what I've come across. It seems to be more commonly spelled Mohinga without the N. But you know, I think either way works. But what I know about Mohinga is that in Burma, it seems as though they usually use catfish. And when I went out shopping for fish yesterday, I actually managed to find, instead of tilapia, some catfish. It was a huge catfish. It was like about this size. And I said, no, I only needed like about 1 kilo of it. So they only gave me the tail end. And I know Soe actually mentioned to use and then a whole fish, including the head. So that's already a little bit different. But I took a picture of the catfish before I took it out, before I boiled it. But this is what it looks like after boiling. Okay. The other thing I want to mention to those people who don't know me, I do have a 3-year-old with special needs. He's running around at the moment, so if you hear any interruptions, if I have to run over and do something, that's because I'm attending to him. So bear with me. So this is the catfish, and what Soe said in his instructions was to basically simmer it until it's cooked, along with the lemongrass. And this is the stock I've got from it. Okay, I simmered this for about probably the best part of an hour, and it's got some turmeric, some lemongrass in there. And I've taken it out, and the reason why I had to do it ahead of time was because I had to simmer it for 45 minutes, and nobody wants to watch me cook for 45 minutes live on air. And then I had to then take out the fish and let it cool down because I'm going to be shredding it. Okay, I'm just going to heat up this saucepan here, and it's got some oil. The other thing I read up about Burmese cooking that I found out, and also just from looking through Soe's blog, is that Burmese cooking uses quite a fair bit of oil. Okay, in this recipe, it's calling for half a cup of oil, a little bit less than that, but I'm sure more oil will taste better. And what I want to do is just heat this up a little bit, and I'm going to add the onion. There's the crushed onion. There's quite a bit of it. I don't quite have the 5 quarts of water in the saucepan for the fish, obviously, so I'm cooking probably about a half portion of what's specified in Soe's recipe. Okay, so this is gonna just fry up. Now, the other thing I had to do beforehand is roast some rice, okay, and then grind it. Okay, this is what it looks like now. It looks like sesame seeds. I probably didn't roast it quite as long as I was supposed to, but it looks like a light brown color. If you can make it out, I've got my other smaller screen here, if you can see it. Okay, and I'm going to add it to the stock later on. And while this is cooking, some of the other ingredients we're using are now noodles. Okay, Soe asked for some rice sticks, thick rice sticks, and he prefers the Vietnamese variety, but I can get fresh rice noodles here. These are a little bit thicker in diameter than the ones you would usually use in the noodles, but I didn't want to go through the trouble of soaking rice noodles and whatever. Speaking of which, I've got some up the back. I'm just going to pour some hot water over it just to soften it up. So here's onion and lots of garlic. Okay, he called for 5 large cloves of garlic. And the other thing, which I thought was quite interesting, was paprika. Okay, this is something that so I bought some paprika powder. It is not something that I use in Malaysian cooking much. I have thought about it for the sake of making dried curry spices and that sort of stuff. So I may experiment a little bit. Now, he also called for cayenne pepper, and again, you know, paprika, cayenne pepper, these are ingredients you should be able to easily find in any Western supermarket, okay? Likewise with garlic and ginger. Turmeric powder, you should be able to find very easily at supermarkets as well nowadays, but like I said, I happen to manage to get some fresh crushed turmeric in a jar. So this is just frying up, and the other thing I want to show you, cilantro, what they call cilantro in America, we call them coriander, okay, coriander leaves, and they kind of wilted because we had a very, very hot couple of days here in Australia. And also, you wanted some, these are fried shallots, and these are just going on the noodles when they're done, okay. Fish sauce calls for, I think, what's that, quarter cup of fish sauce, so that's a fair bit of fish sauce we're going to be using. And that seems to be the only seasoning he's calling for in the dish. And of course, if you know me, you know I like my magic powder. So I'm going to be throwing some chicken stock granules in the soup as well, just to give it that, more of a full-bodied flavor. And also because once you shred the fish, you're really meant to actually kind of simmer it for another hour or 2 hours or whatever. So this is a long, slow, drawn-out cooking style, okay? And I've got some garlic oil here, just like little bits of garlic. I fried up some garlic oil a few weeks back, and it's just been sitting in my pantry, so this is perfect. Save me the trouble of doing that. Now, the fish, okay, like I said, I used catfish. Here it is. I probably don't eat all of it, and it's been poached. I got the fish shop to just halve the fish for me. Now, what Soe said was to just kind of like break up the meat, and I'm going to throw it into the saucepan as well. Now, catfish is a really, really nice, soft, gelatinous kind of texture, and I love it like that. We don't use catfish that much in my style of Asian cooking, though I know last time I was in Malaysia filming a TV show, we actually traveled all the way inland, 2 hours out of KL to a place called Temolo in Pahang. okay, which is right in the middle of the peninsula of Malaysia. And what we did there was we visited this place. Well, Temogo, the entire town is famous for a particular type of catfish called ikan patin. And interestingly enough, the Malay community cooks ikan patin a certain style, and the Chinese community cook it a certain style. I only managed to taste it the Chinese way, and it was just exceptionally fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to going back to Temogo just to try the catfish again, and maybe this time to try the Malay style of cooking as well. Okay, so I'm just kind of killing this here a little bit, just browning up, and I'm just going to add the other ingredients. Okay, I mentioned before that I put some fresh lemongrass in the pot with the fish, but there wasn't quite enough of it, so I've just added some pureed lemongrass in here as well. I hope you can still hear me okay, because this is just going a little bit sizzly. I'm going to add the paprika here. And now I'm going to add the fish, okay? And I hope you can see this okay. This is smelling really, really good. And you're meant to fry this till the fish kind of like dries up a bit. Okay, it smells quite gingery because I stuck quite a bit of ginger in there. If anyone knows how I cook, they know I generally don't measure a lot of stuff. Okay, so this is just cooking. So so far I've got the garlic, lots of garlic. I've got onion, I've got the catfish, and I've got some spices like paprika. Instead of using cayenne pepper, I used the Malaysian jar of chili sauce. And again, like I mentioned, if you're in Sydney, hit me up for the contact over at the Malaysian Agricultural Department, because if you're based in the city, they're very conducive to handing out samples. So talk to me and I'll pass you on to the right people to talk to. If you want to try some samples of Malaysian products, you know, they will give it to you. They will give it out to you. They might even send it out to you. They're very, very great. They're great people to work with. Okay, so and the other stuff I've got in there is a bit of turmeric, a bit more turmeric than what I had in there, and a bit more lemongrass as well. Okay, so you want to fry this till it's semi-dry, which I think we're getting to. I probably need more oil in this because, like I mentioned, if you're just joining me now, there's actually a fair bit of oil in Burmese cooking. Okay, and I'm very intrigued to try out the Burmese recipes because apart from that one visit to that Burmese restaurant in Sydney several years ago, I have been completely unexposed to the cuisine from that part of Southeast Asia. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. So this is like basically catfish plus all these different spices. Not too hard so far. I'm just going to put this down for a minute. Okay, so this, I hope you can see this. I'm just gonna tip it over here a little bit. It looks a bit yellow because it's got turmeric in it, and it's got lemongrass as well. I'm just gonna add this into the soup and bring it to a boil. And don't forget, like I said, you know, check out Soe's website, limeandcilantro.com. He's a very intriguing young man, great personality. If you read, I love the kind of blogs that are unpretentious, but provide a lot of good information. God knows there are, you know, probably about 500 million food blogs in the world, and some of them are probably more style than substance. And usually I tend to find, you know, the ones with great substance generally I wouldn't say generally, sometimes don't have a lot of style to them. You know, their websites probably look a little bit more dated. The pictures aren't that particularly spectacular, but generally, you know, especially now, if you're trying to learn Malaysian dishes, and I should actually kind of collaborate with some of these. So some of these websites are not in English. Okay, I'm just adding a bit more fish to this because I think it needs it. Okay. But yeah, some of the best recipes are not written in English, okay? And some of the best blogs don't have the most attractive, beautifully presented, Vogue entertaining style photography attached to them. But really, you know, if you know Malaysian food or you know Asian food, as an insider, like yours truly, you would know that they carry more weight sometimes than some of the flashier looking websites that come up in Google search when you look for particular recipes. Okay, now, and also, like, if you don't know me, essentially what I try and do is bridge the gap between kind of like maintaining authenticity, and authenticity in itself is a problematic term, maintaining authenticity in the dishes I try to cook, but at the same time making it accessible, okay, making it so that people aren't going to think, oh my God, I'll never bother cooking this because it's so complicated, it needs all these special equipment and all that sort of stuff. Now, I'm just going to put this round the back, and the other thing I'm going to add are these thickly sliced onions, okay? So that's going in, and you're meant to let this simmer for a long time, like an hour or so, okay? Now, the other thing is as a point of difference in this recipe from Soe and what I've researched online is that in Burmese cooking, they use chickpea flour, I believe that is, roasted chickpea flour quite a lot as a source, as a thickener in their curries and their dishes sort of thing. And usually with this particular dish, it seems as though they do add that as well. But Soe did not have it in the recipe, and I didn't want to try and track down chickpea flour because that's probably you know, not as easily obtainable at your local Western supermarket anyway, so I left it out. Okay, now this is the roasted rice flour, roasted and crushed rice flour. It's not as finely crushed as I would have liked it. I just use a regular food processor, and this is going to go in here to add, I guess, to make it a little bit thicker. Now, it doesn't mention in the recipe, and I didn't have time to research this, but I know now using roasted rice flour isn't that common in Malaysian cooking, so that's another point of difference. But I do know it's common in Thai cooking, which I encountered when I was in Chiang Mai just a couple of months ago. But they mentioned, the chef at the Shangri-La Chiang Mai mentioned to me that even though it's called roasted rice flour, they usually more commonly use glutinous rice, okay? They roast glutinous rice and then they pound it, and they usually use that in a lot of salads. I don't know if in Thai cooking they use that in soups the way the Burmese do, but this one does, and I don't know whether it's the same in Burma, that they usually use glutinous rice flour as opposed to rice flour, but I don't think it probably matters that greatly because they both have the same kind of like flavor profile and the same kind of like properties in terms of acting as a thickener. Okay, so this is going to simmer, and I think I'm going to add a bit more of that. Okay, I'm going to, now, like I said, I've posted the ingredients on the Google Hangout page, and that's my son Noah wanting to come back in. Hopefully he'll be happy out there for a couple more minutes because that's how long it's going to take me to finish, to wrap this up. The other thing that goes into this dish are boiled eggs. Okay, so I've got a couple of boiled eggs here. I'm just going to slice them up. And I'm going to stick the fish sauce in here. Like I said, in Soe's recipe, it calls for a quarter cup of fish sauce. So this is going to be a fair bit. And if people, now the other thing I need to mention in terms of Asian cooking, it frustrates me a little bit because I never hide any kind of techniques or ingredients in my recipes, but a lot of the ultimate flavor that you generate with your recipe depends on the brands of ingredients you use, okay? So I do have my own preferences in terms of brands. Sometimes it's just out of habit, and other times it's out of essentially experimentation sort of thing. You know, I'm not saying that the brands that I use are the absolute best, but it's just that my recipes have been developed around certain brands, like the ones that I do use, okay? And one of them, it's certainly with fish sauce, is this one here. Is it looks, I don't know if you can see, I'm gonna hold this up over here, okay? And I've taken a picture of it earlier, which I'm going to share on that event page on Google+, and I'm going to share it on my blog as well. But this is the usually the fish sauce brand I use. I asked for it's got a picture of a squid at the front, okay? And I always tell the grocery store when I order my stock, the squid brand is what I want. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, like I said, there are other brands out there that are likely very, very good. It's just my recipes are based around the brands that I use, and this is one of them. If ever you decide to follow my recipes that call for fish sauce, that's the one that I use. Okay, I'm just going to taste test this. Tastes to me like it needs more fish sauce. I do have a very strong taste buds, by the way, guys. So just adjust everything according to your preference. And I'm going to add my chicken stock granules, like what we call in Malaysia magic powder, okay? People get a little bit leery about adding these enhancements to your dishes, but trust me, even the most famous and well-regarded chefs and street food vendors in Malaysia do use this quite extensively. Okay, much better. I'm just going to add a little bit more. And the chicken stock granules, the brand that I use is Knorr, K-N-O-R-R. Okay, and this one is it says the traditional Hong Kong recipe. I don't know how different that is from the other Knorr brands that they produce. They do have a couple of different varieties there, you know, some are like premium stock or whatever and that sort of stuff. They're all chicken, but they're just different flavors of chicken, okay? Let's taste test this a little bit more. It tastes to me like it could use more, this is just paprika. I'm just gonna add that, because paprika is not spicy at all, it just gives it a nice color. So I'm just adding that a little bit more. And in the meantime, while this is simmering away, I'm just going to quickly show you the purees that I mentioned earlier. This is my first time using these. I'm not getting paid to endorse them or anything like that, but hopefully you can see it in that small screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is the brand is Vias, V-I-A-S, I believe that's how you pronounce it. This is a red kulai chili puree. I don't know what red kulai means. Maybe some Malaysian out there will tell me. Okay, this is just garlic puree, lemongrass puree, and I've got a couple of others like galangal puree and ginger puree and that sort of stuff as well. Okay, this isn't looking too different to the picture posted by Soe in his blog. He just posted it actually just this morning. So if you want to hop on to limeandcilantro.com, you should be able to see his recipe there. Okay, now I've got the noodles. I'm going to present this and let you see what it looks like. So this is my bowl. Hopefully the noodles are soft enough. Now I'm going to shoot another video if there's demand for it, for how to make your own rice spaghetti noodles, okay? Just remind me if I don't get around to it. Okay, so what you want are the noodles. Noah's getting a bit antsy. Noah's my son, if you didn't hear me earlier, okay? And this is a really kind of like I'm just gonna let this simmer a little bit longer. I'm pretty sure this is meant to be a little bit thicker. Okay, but I want to show you how it's looking so far. Hopefully Soe will be not too disappointed with this effort. Okay, difference between this and some Malaysian laksas is that Malaysian laksas, not all of them, not the Penang Assam laksa, but a lot of Malaysian laksas usually have coconut milk in them. Okay. Now, apparently, cilantro, as you call it in America, or coriander leaves, as we call it in Australia, is absolutely crucial in this recipe. So I'm going to just pile it on. And the other thing you want is some garlic oil. Garlic oil, here you go. And finally, I've got it here. Fried shallots. If you not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you should be, because I show you how to make your own fried shallots or fried onions. Okay, there you go. Burmese Mohinga, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. This is really embarrassing because, like I said, I don't know really anything about Burmese food. Okay, I'm just going to taste test this. The cilantro really makes a huge difference. Okay, this tastes really, really rich, full-bodied, and I love the fish in it, and the cilantro, and the thick slices of onion. I'm going to take a picture of this and show you what it looks like, and I'm going to share my version of the recipe with my tweaks, only because of the ingredients I use being more valuable to me off the bat. Okay, and then I hope you give this a try. This is so easy, actually. The only thing I guess that about it is that it just takes a little bit of time. You're gonna like poach the fish, let it cool down, shred the meat, and then throw it back in the stock. But essentially, the rest of it is just like pan frying the spice ingredients, predominantly garlic and onion, and then throwing it in and adding it into the soup stock and boiling it for another hour or so. Okay, I would say selamat makan, but that's completely inappropriate because we're doing Burmese food and I don't know one word about the Burmese language. So happy eating. Thank you so much, guys, and I look forward to your company with my next broadcast. I'll catch you later. Let me just try and turn this on.